evening, my name is Arlene Herson. The name of the show is Getting to Know You, and tonight we're going to get to know a man who says he never got a dinner. However, he delivers a feast to his audiences with his incredible talent as he offers a spectacular banquet of wit, charm, and comedy, seasoned with award-winning acting ability.
Oh, how true, how true.
I'm glad you're enjoying all this because I'm enjoying telling the audience about it. Because
thank you. Arlene, you read it just the way I wrote it for you.
Okay, but there's more. The icing on the cake.
Oh, do you mean
was the Oscar that you won for your performance in the movie Sayonara.
Yeah,
You're a man audiences can't get enough of. You sing, you dance, you act, you make
I sit at tables,
laugh.
I do interviews.
Right, okay. You are certainly one of the most admired performers in the entertainment world today, and I don't have to tell the audience.
That's true, I'm crazy about myself.
Okay, I don't have to tell the audience that you're Red Buttons, and we're going to get to know you right after these commercial messages.
Getting to know me, getting to know all about me.
Okay, don't go away. We'll be right back with Red Buttons.
Where's dinner?
Well, I thought you'd be home a couple of hours ago, and I put everything away. So
what is this? Pizza?
You had just called me. I would have known what.
Dinner ready is pizza.
Honey, please don't be so loud. Please don't. Let go of me!
Get in the kitchen!
No!
Do you want to see what hurts? That's what hurts! That's what hurts!
Oh, please! I can't. Please.
For information, call 1-800-END-ABUSE.
Do you think you have the power to change the world?
I can change the world one child at a time.
I know I can make a difference in those children's lives.
I teach.
I teach.
Yes, they're teachers, but to the kids they reach, they're heroes.
I teach.
Do you have the power to wake up young minds, to be someone's hero? Teach, to make an impact on our future. Call 1-800-45-TEACH. Be a teacher. Be a hero.
We're back. We're here at the Golden Nugget Hotel in Atlantic City with my very special guest, Red Buttons. Welcome again. Delighted. Anyway, your first page of your bio says that you were born lucky and you were born poor. Do you think your life would be different today if you were born rich?
I think so. I don't think I would have had the motivation I had. My motivation was to eat. You know, when I mean poor, you don't know what poor is. I mean, when I was a kid, there was no food in the house, there was no clothes on my back, there was no heat in the building, and then came the Depression.
Okay, I tend to think, I know you were poor, but that's got to be a little exaggeration.
Look, when we got a phone call, we had to run upstairs to the candy store. That's how poor I was.
Well, okay, but you know, you were born, you once told me, to entertain. So maybe it was kind of seasoned with the fact that you had to work and you sang for pennies on the street.
That's right. And those pennies were important in those days.
Yeah. Okay, yes. 7 years old.
Yes.
Did you know that you were singing for money or were you singing for pleasure?
I was singing for pleasure. I still do it for pleasure. The money to me is a gift. And I think the better you are, the bigger the gift. I've always felt that way about it. I think it's a wonderful, wonderful way to do it because I'm so smart. Oh.
Okay, actually you are smart. You were smart, you know, even way back then because at 12 years old you started entering talent contests to earn money. You got $5. That was a lot of money in those days.
It was a tremendous amount of money during the Depression. I mean, if I came home, if I made $5, I brought home $5 and gave it to my mother. I mean, things were really, really rough in those days.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, my first job in the Catskills, I got $1.50 a week room and board. I mean that. And I sent my mother $1 every single week in an envelope with 2-cent stamp. I had 48 cents left. I went crazy. Wine, women's song, malted sour cream. It was bananas.
Oh, all on that 48 cents.
All on
okay.
The 48
but
cents.
Speaking about the mountains, just when you started singing there, when you were singing on the streets, when you were also winning amateur contests.
And singing in choirs.
Right. Okay.
When I was a kid, I sang in choirs.
But it was as a singer, not as a comedian.
That's right. But I was a funny singer.
Okay, well, when was
I was always mugging in the choir, and all the kids are singing. I was going with the faces were going to tumble, and the choir leader was always rapping me and everything else. I always clowned around.
Yeah. Speaking of singing in the choir and singing, is it true that in Hebrew school
Yes.
You were expelled because you put a thumbtack on your teacher's seat.
Absolutely.
You really
And
did
my
that.
kid just did the same thing not too long ago with one of his teachers.
Your kid. Now he learned from Dad?
Where he got it from, I'll never know.
Can't understand it. I understand he's a carbon copy of his dad.
Oh, he's terrific.
Okay. Actually, you know, just to go back to the old days, because Red Buttons, famous name, lights all over, here at the Golden Nugget. You weren't born Red Buttons.
No, I wasn't. I was born Blue Zippers. But I had to change it, Arlene, when I went into show business, because how would it look on the marquee? Blue Zippers opens tonight.
You know what? It would have looked better than your real name, which is Aaron Schwat.
That's right, Aaron Schwat. When I went into show business, you couldn't use a name like Aaron Schwat. Today you could be Carrie Snodgrass, nobody cares. But in my day, you had to have a nickname.
Okay, the Red Buttons actually came because of a job that you had.
That's right. I worked as a bellhop, an entertaining bellhop, and I had the little bellhop's uniform, the Philip Morris uniform. They called me Buttons. And I had the red hair, and it became Red Buttons. Then it became Red Fox, Red Skeleton, which people call me, and once in a while Red Russia, but not too often.
Okay, well, red obviously fits in Red Buttons.
Oh, and Red China.
Oh, and Red China. Oh, well. But my favorite is Red Buttons.
My favorite, too.
All right, but have you had, talking about the practical jokes that you've played on people, the thumbtack and, you know, the impishness that you've always had, has anybody ever played an outrageous practical joke on you?
An outrageous, yes, at one time, yeah. In the Catskill Mountains, one of our friends got a radio show, and it was a debut of a show, and I was working. I was doing 2 or 3 shows that night, and the show was already over because I couldn't get there in time, but I didn't know it. So they had it, they framed it, you know, that the show was still on. They kept the light on, and they rushed me up to the podium, and I started to talk, and I was doing all this thing, and the show had been off now for about a half hour, but everybody was in on it except me, until one of my friends said, "You idiot," and did a couple of dirty things, and I was horrified. I said, "You're on radio," and everybody broke up and fell on the floor.
Wow. Okay,
that was one of the things I remember.
All right, so it's turned the tables. Okay.
Tables were turned.
But you work very hard. You did work certainly hard in those days, too, in the Catskill Mountains. At one time, I understand you had 4 jobs in one night. And
That's
this
right.
wasn't unusual. You go to a bar mitzvah,
4
a
jobs.
wedding, a singing,
2
a hotel.
standing ovations, 4 jobs. Not bad. I was batting 500.
How did you manage that?
Honey, greed.
Greed or necessity? Was
Yeah.
it the money that
Well,
was
you run.
necessary?
You know, in this business, you take it where it is. When it's there, when the work is there, you take it. You can't be a dilettante in this business. Man says red, blah, 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 you go.
Yeah. Okay, and you're fortunate to go, because sometimes when they're not calling and you're not going, that's not terrific. But you were going from one place.
And today you can do it because you've got the, you know, the airlines. In those days,
Yeah,
we had to
that's
schlep
right.
by car, by bus, by train. You couldn't do 1/10 the work you're doing today.
Yeah, true. Okay, but the mountains is kind of where you started. Then you went into burlesque.
That's
Youngest
right.
comedian.
That's right. I went to work
On
for
the Broadway.
Minsky when I was a kid.
Yeah. Is it a fact that once when you were on stage, there was a raid?
That's right. I have the dubious distinction of being the last working burlesque comedian on stage in New York City. I was on stage with Margie Hart, who was a stripper, and when the place was raided. Actually raided. I'll never forget, Arlene, the mad dash we made for the patrol wagon. I mean, nobody likes to stand riding downtown, you know that. And when we got to the courtroom, Arlene, the judge made us do the sketch we did when the joint was pinched. I'll give you an idea how dirty the sketch was. When it was over, the judge had the jury arrested for watching an obscene performance.
Okay. Gee, and burlesque isn't around anymore. Do you miss it?
Do I miss it? No, I don't miss it. I mean, you know, you go in the plateaus, different plateaus in your life.
Yeah. Okay, and you've had a lot of them. And they've been a lot of good times. I mean, from burlesque, kind of almost not overnight, but to television.
Well, there was a big gap between
A big
burlesque
gap.
and television. I worked clubs, all the small joints, all the nightclubs, and then the bigger clubs. And I played the presentation houses with the big bands on Broadway. I did an awful lot of club dates, individual, one-night things. And then Broadway.
Okay.
I did 6 Broadway shows before television.
Okay,
did
your
a lot of
first
stuff.
Broadway show, though, is actually a very interesting story because first Broadway show,
It was a classic.
Jose Ferrer, yeah.
It was a classic, yes.
But never came to Broadway.
Well, Jose Ferrer saw me in burlesque and tapped me for this show. And I made a financial sacrifice to do it, and justly so, because in those days, if you went from burlesque into legit, there was a tremendous step up in the business. And so I took the part. And we went out of town with it, and we were a big hit out of town. And we closed in Baltimore on a Saturday night. We were supposed to open in New York City on a Monday night at the Playhouse Theater on 48th Street. But while we were on the train going from Baltimore to New York, a very peculiar thing happened, which was a tragedy for our country and the world. Pearl Harbor was bombed. And the show never opened, Arlene, because the show was a comedy about Pearl Harbor. It was the first show business casualty of World War II. We never opened a show. And I swore at that time that the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor to keep me off Broadway.
But the Japanese did good things for you in later years.
Ironically, the next, probably the biggest thing, single thing in the business, when I did Sayonara. So the Japanese, somehow or other, were a big part of my life. And come to think of it, you look a little Japanese, Arlene. I was looking at you today. You're starting to...
Well, I wouldn't mind being a big part of your life. Now we have to take a break, and then we're going to come back and talk more about your life. Well, we're speaking with Red Buttons. We're here at the Golden Nugget, and we'll be right back after these messages, so please don't go away.
Terrell Bishop is angry and taking to the street again tonight. To take it back from pushers and gangs and make it safe for his 4-year-old.
We go out there and patrol the streets and talk to the youngsters.
Terrell is a mad dad. Family men who work with local authorities to keep their neighborhoods safe.
We try to get them away from the gang life because a lot of us that's part of Mad Dads are ex-gang members.
It's time for the men to stand up and be men and take their part and do what is needed so our young kids can grow up in a safe environment.
Just making a lot of people feel a lot safer by us being out there, walking around.
Every child should have a man in their life, a positive man in their life.
Not everyone has to take to the streets, but everyone can take a step to help kids. Call us. We're fighting for the children. Whose side are you on?
It's a thin line between newborn and stillborn, full term and premature, between healthy and sick. If you're pregnant or think you are, getting prenatal care early is the most important step you can take. Don't put your baby's health on the line. Take care of yourself so you can take care of your baby. Find out now about getting prenatal care. Call 1-800-311-2229.
You know trouble can start when the clock hits 3.
When there's no place after school for kids to be.
Nothing to do but hanging on city streets.
When mom and dad are working to make ends meet. Now it's time to beat the street.
With after-school programs, city kids aren't left alone and vulnerable. They keep on learning between 3 and 6, but these programs need your support. Join with the Urban League to keep them going. Call now, because it's
time to beat the street.
We're back. We're with my very special guest, Red Buttons, and we're here at the Golden Nugget. We were talking earlier about some of the things that happened in your life, and I mentioned your television show. Now, that was a big thing. You know, television is big in these days, but I think it was even more special those days to have your very own show, the Red Buttons Show. Now, the first show, I understand, was not really sponsored. Everybody wasn't sure about it. It was a tremendous success. The critical reviews were all raves. Here you were, a success. Now, is it true that the second time, this is live television, about to go on the air, you fainted?
Well, I didn't exactly faint. I had a very, very bad cold. And I got so dizzy from working hard, because the week before I had been on, and everything happened. It was an explosion. I went right through the roof. I'll never forget that date. October 14th, 1894. And it was just absolutely marvelous. It was actually 1952, October 14th, on Tuesday night, opposite Milton Berle.
Oh, I didn't know
Opposite Milton Berle, God bless him, who right now just went through a quadruple, what do you call it, your heart surgery, yes,
surgery,
you know.
Hopefully he'll be fine.
And we're keeping our fingers crossed that everything is going to be fine, because I can't imagine this world without Milton.
Yeah, I know he's a good friend of yours.
And so I had a wondrous week, and the emotion of it drained me so much, and this bad cold on top of it weakened me so much that, and we were on live at the time, at about a half hour or an hour before the show, I just absolutely, I didn't faint, but I collapsed. I just couldn't move. I was too weak, and they threw an old Guy Kibbe half-hour film instead. And the following week, we got a letter from somebody who said, I heard about red buttons, and I tuned in, and I'll be damned if he doesn't look exactly like Guy Kibbe.
That's funny. Okay, but the week after that, Red Buttons was on.
Yeah, then I started coming back, and everything started happening.
Yeah.
I was opposite Milton for about 7 weeks, sustaining. They couldn't even sell the time at that time on CBS. From 8 to 9 on Tuesday night, with Milton, he had it all locked up. And then they brought me to follow I Love Lucy in January of '53, and then really everything started happening from then on. It was, as I look back at it now, it was glorious, crazy time. It's the kind of thing that's happening to Eddie Murphy today. It's the kind of thing that happened to Martin and Lewis, Frank Sinatra. It was unbelievable, Arlene. 2 parades in Chicago during that time with ticker tape, Boston, Detroit. My face on the cover of 2 national magazines inside of 1 week. Couldn't walk through the streets. I was like the Pied Piper, kids ripping my coat. It was a craziness.
Yeah, but wonderful craziness.
Yeah, it's a kind of thing that just, it's too overwhelming, though. It's too overwhelming. Because when the fall comes, the fall is as great as the rise.
Yeah, okay.
And the fall came.
It did, and that was tough. After
yeah,
3
it was
years,
tough.
How did you cope with that when the show was canceled?
How did you cope with it? You get very nervous, and you start getting very bitter, and then you get cynical and bitter, and then one day, if you're fortunate enough, you come out of it, because if you're bitter, you become a terrible bore to everybody and yourself, and that's what starts to happen. And one day I said, hey, you know, nobody promised me a rose garden. It's show business. This is the way it's supposed to be. Upsy-downsy, upsy-downsy, and I just got a hold of myself and cried. What? Oh, God, Arlene, why did you bring it up? I can't stand what you just did to me. Anyway, Arlene, it was...
Did you ever think about giving up the business?
Yes, for about 5 minutes. I got mad at everything. I'm mad at the world. I'll show them. I'll never perform again. I'll teach them a lesson, you know, which is part of the bitterness and the boredom and the craziness. I mean, that starts to happen to you when you get that mad about things. I thought I was going to be the only one who was ever canceled. Little did I know that everybody joined that little club, which, you know, was not that exclusive any longer.
Yeah,
but I had a pretty good ride, 3 years.
True. Okay, but then there were a couple of years when it wasn't so great.
That's right. It was pretty bad. It was pretty bad.
Yeah. How did you support yourself in those days?
How did I support myself? Well, I came from a very wealthy family, as I told you before. You know, my father took the money that he saved from the pushcart and just sent me, you know, a few thousand every week, Arlene.
All right. Anyway, it was tough time. But,
it was tough, yeah.
Okay. Then, miraculously, motion picture part.
That's right.
Serious part, not comedy.
That's right.
Sayonara.
Well, a lot of people thought that my comedy was serious. I think that's why I was canceled.
No. That was, we had talked about that. That really wasn't your fault. That was in the programming and changing the format and whatever. But Sayonara, Academy Award.
Yeah, that was a jackpot.
That must have been terrific.
Yeah, I waited. I was there at the right time, in the right place, with the right thing, for what that part called for. I was very lucky. I had to fight for the part. I tested twice for it. I sweated out for over 4 months because they just couldn't see giving this part to a washed-up television comedian. But finally, the powers that be, God bless him, won over. And, you know, Josh Logan, who saw something special about me, and my agent, Marty Baum, who believed in me and said, hey, I think Red would be right for this. And it all came together, and it was, again, you know, one of the highlights.
Isn't it funny, for going to be a washed-up television comedian to an Academy Award winner and sought after, and lots of good things have happened, and we're going to talk some more after we take this commercial break. We're speaking with Red Buttons. We're here at the Golden Nugget, and we'll be right back after these messages, so please stay right where you are.
Why would anybody give someone they don't know a gift? They do it because this gift saves lives. And the need for it is desperate. We need over 20,000 people to give this precious gift every day. Please give blood. There's a life to be saved right now. Call the American Red Cross at 1-800-GIVE-LIFE.
We're back. We're with my very special guest, Red Buttons, and we're here at the Golden Nugget. We've been talking about some of the wonderful things that have happened in your life, some of the tough things that happened in your life, but you live in California. You have a lovely wife named Alicia. You have 2 children. 10 years ago, Alicia was told that she had, it was actually more than 10 years ago. 12, that she had...
Well, it actually 13. Actually, almost 13 now.
Okay. Well, she was told that she had cancer and that she had 8 months to live.
Well, something like that, yeah. Prognosis was very bad.
Well, obviously, she's vibrant, healthy, terrific lady today. But what happened? How did you cope? What did you do?
Well, first thing you do is you drop dead and you cry a lot. You know. I took it very, very badly. Canceled all work. I didn't do anything. I was in a daze about it. My children were very young at the time. My daughter was 6, my son was 2. And it's a terrible thing for people to tell you. All doctors telling you, Red, you know, if you have anything you want to do it now because you won't be able to do it later on. And, but fortunately, we lucked out. We, through some dear friends, we found a doctor in Germany. And I saw some of the work that he did, one woman that he saved that everybody gave up, and I rushed my wife to Germany immediately, and he saved her life.
Right, and obviously, you know, as we mentioned, this was 13 years ago. I know Alicia. She's a wonderful woman. She's lovely. She's in excellent health.
You know, those who get there in time have got a good shot. You know, the only problem is that people wait too long.
Yeah, true. Well,
you know, and they expect miracles.
It's important to...
I mean, you've got to help a miracle.
Well, actually, okay, now that reminds me, you wrote a song.
Yes.
You write songs, too. You wrote a song. After that happened, you wrote, because of Alicia's miraculous recovery, you wrote a song.
Yeah, I wrote it with Al Kasher and Joel Hirschhorn, 2 Academy Award writers. And the song is going to be included in some albums, I understand, right now. I can't tell you who at this point.
Yeah. Did you write the music, the
I
lyrics,
wrote the lyric.
both? You wrote
I wrote
the lyrics.
The lyric.
You also, I hear, once wrote a children's book of poems.
Yes, I have an album of poems out that I wrote for my daughter. When she was about 1 year old, my wife bought her a blackboard, and I used to write her poems on a blackboard every morning. I did that for about 5, 6 years. And never intended to do anything with it. Some friends read it and said, "Oh, Red, why don't you?" So we did, recorded it with Al Cayola underneath, beautiful musical accompaniment. And the record's been out now about 12 years. It's called Love, Daddy.
That's wonderful. You see, there's no end to your talent. Also on your television show, just to get back to that, you had a theme song. That was wonderful. I hear you wrote the theme song.
Ho, ho, ho. Strange things are happening. I haven't done that in a long
okay.
time.
Speaking about strange things, because we really don't have a lot of time left, you are going to be playing a bunny rabbit in Alice in Wonderland. I have a picture of you. We're going to show the picture of you in your bunny outfit. How did you get to play a bunny?
Well, I played a white rabbit. Well, it was typecasting.
What do you mean by that?
Well, we're going to let your adult audience figure that one out.
I know what you mean by that.
Yeah, that was a marvelous experience. I'm in it with 47 biggies, and Steve Allen wrote 28 songs for it. Irwin Allen's producing it. It's going to be on CBS 4-hour special. Yeah. Alice in Wonderland, Alice Through the Looking Glass. Sometime I'd say around Christmas.
Yeah.
That was a great experience. I loved it. And the little girl playing Alice is to eat up. She's another Shirley Temple.
Yeah, oh, that's wonderful. Okay, and I just saw you on HBO in a movie where you play a drunk.
Reunion at Fairborough. I did that with Robert Mitchum and Deborah Carr in London. I was so happy to do that. And Alan King was the executive producer. He and his partner, Alan Wagner, were executive producers on the show. My old pal, Alan King.
There's so much that's happened to you. The business has changed so much. You've been in the business almost your whole adult life. We only have 30 seconds left. How do you think you've changed from the guy starting out in the Bronx?
I'm enjoying it much more today than I ever have my whole life. Yeah. I'm just having a great time. I love it.
Well, that's wonderful. I'm having a great time, too, because I've had you on my show for the second time, and more important, you're also a personal friend.
Yeah, but don't you think, Arlene, that now that I've been on twice, I should get paid? I mean, I should get paid, Arlene. This is becoming ridiculous. I know you're going to call me again. Arlene, you've got to come up with some money. I mean, sometime. That's it. Good night, folks.
We're going to talk about this later. I hope that you enjoyed getting to know Red Buttons. I know that I certainly have, and that you'll join us again next week. Meantime, good night. It's been a pleasure getting to know you.
I'm not kidding, Arlene. I want the money.